Go!
3, 2, 1, Ghost. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 3, 2, 1, Ghost. As always, your host with the silent G, Kyle, and joined by my pal, Natalie. Hey, Natalie, how are you?
So good. Hi, everyone. Hi, Kyle.
Hey, I don't know, how are things in your life? Anything spooky going on?
Nothing spooky going on other than being tired. That's the
Yeah,
spookiest thing, being in your
yeah,
30s.
yeah, I hear you as we're recording, gosh, 9:30 on a weeknight. Ugh, look at us.
It feels like 1 a.m.
May as well be.
It may as well be.
Um, yeah, nothing spooky over here. I feel like the only thing really I've been doing is, I was doing another rewatch of this movie. I've been putting Legos together. I could not tell you the last time I put a Lego set together. Actually, gosh, maybe not a full one ever, maybe as a child, but here I am as an adult.
Which Lego set did you put together?
Well, this is what makes it spooky.
Oh,
It's it's like the Ghostbusters one they came out with. Like
mm.
I couldn't like a decade ago at least. I remember buying it. They mismarked it on clearance accidentally at the Toys R Us down in San Diego. So I got it for like real cheap. And I never really put it together because I never really had a spot to do it. But now that I have space in my new place, I was like, let's put a Lego set together. Let's see how that works. And honestly, oh my god, there's so many pieces. It takes
I'm
so long to do.
that's an advanced way to start putting together a Lego set. As you
Yeah,
know, I am a mother of an 8-year-old boy, so you're a pro at putting together Lego sets. Let me just tell you, I used to be so slow. Now I knock those motherfuckers out fast.
that's
Like
impressive.
I feel really good about my Lego skills when I have instructions. When we have to like be creative, it's not there. It's lost all the creativity. I can't do it freehand. Whereas, a child's brain is like creating all these beautiful things. If I don't have that instruction manual, I'm lost.
That's okay. And honestly, it's like if I have the opportunity to make something look like the Ecto One, why would I want to make something else? I got the Ecto One right here. I've got two Ecto Ones. I've got the set from the original '80s crew, and then I've got a set from the Paul Feig one that came out in like 2016. So I'm gonna put both
Hmm.
together. Both very beautiful Ecto Ones. But so I tried doing that and maybe made like, oh geez, like I would say one. I'm trying to think of the fraction. I made it like 1/164th of the way through this set. So, well, we're gonna see. Um,
Well, if we're trying to be endorsed by Lego, which I think we should,
yeah, yeah.
I will say
Uh,
Lego actually does a really good job of having spooky themed things. We've got everything spooky that they make, we buy. So
Good.
we've got pumpkins, we've got spooky owls, we've got they used to do this one, damn, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a whole like zombies and like it had an interactive game where you could like hunt ghosts and things like that. And it was the best. So we had all these spooky Legos and then they just stopped making them. And I was like, oh, okay, so it's just dinosaurs from here on out. We don't get any graveyards. Like we built a whole graveyard with like spooky little ghosts. It was amazing.
Little Lego
Yeah.
bones.
Yeah. I was into it. I was like, I'll put this shit together. Absolutely.
Just really just somber Legos that just stand around a friend's grave.
Yes.
Let's see how I can do this segue. So there are 508 pieces in this Ghostbusters Lego set, which is a pretty high number. Yet it's 900 short. Exactly 900 short of the number of the room that we're going to be talking about in this film today, which is going the 2007 John Cusack, Samuel L. Jackson star 1408. How'd you like
Two
that?
qu- two questions.
Sure.
Did you do the math in advance?
No, actually, I just came up that actually just came to me. I'm pretty sure it's 508 pieces, but I don't want to get up and look.
That was the second question was, is it actually 508 pieces? So I
Hmm,
just,
I'm not going to get up and look.
it's okay. We can send it to the research team.
Thank you. Someone Googled that. But yeah, we're talking about 2007's 1408, which I don't know. Did you know, Natalie, that adds up to 13?
I didn't until I watched it this time. I never caught that.
Shut up, really?
Never. I'm totally serious.
He like
I
writes it down, like just like in the
I
zooms up on it.
felt I felt like a fool because I was watching it and I was like, oh, that's why it's room number 1408 because it equals 13. I just want to let everyone know that I do pay attention when I watch movies. The last time I watched this movie would have been in 2007. I have not watched it since it first came out. I think I saw it in
Mhm.
the theater and I would have been 20. So who knows how much I was paying attention then. But I like gasped when when he said the numbers equal 13. I was like, oh, what?
Well, I've got some general kind of questions about that anyway, and just how the math kind of shakes out in this movie. Now, well, first things first, this movie takes place on the 13th floor of a hotel, and
Mm.
as we know that, hotels generally, I'd say like a lot that I've seen, or at least a lot, I don't have the math in front of me. We're running up to the
I
research
do.
team. Oh my god, but hotels generally they'll skip that 13th floor because it's bad luck. It's the unluckiest number, as I've been told. At least I've grown up knowing. I don't know, but and then of course adding up to 13. Like, first of all, before you tell me about your feelings about staying on 13th floors or 13th anything, what was that stat you're going to throw at me?
Okay, so I went like on a little bit of a rabbit hole as I was taking notes because
A true
the
researcher.
well, I soon when he said that like it adds up to 13, I was like, okay, like I gotta go back to that and see what's going on. So I realized it's been a minute since I've really thought about this whole 13th floor situation. I stay at a lot of hotels these days for my job, and I do notice that none of them have a 13th floor on their elevator. I don't think I've seen one. What is the most interesting thing? So I found a percentage from a company that does commercial elevators for hotels.
I love this.
And they say that 85% of hotels do not have a 13th floor, which is a high percentage.
Very high.
Then there's an alternative where some hotels, also I've never seen this, just gonna lead up to that, where they label the 13th floor as level M because it's the 13th letter of the alphabet. Have you ever witnessed that?
I've never seen that before. I was hoping you were going to say it was 13%. And then the other 2% like are just one-story hotels. That don't have an elevator anyway, you know. That was my hope. I don't think I've ever seen that. I want to say I like it.
The M?
Yeah, just the creativity, just hey,
What what I like about the M is that you're still acknowledging that there is a 13th floor. That's my pet peeve with that is that the 14th floor is the 13th floor. It's important that everyone knows that. So if you are staying on the 14th floor, it's the 13th. It's you're counting from the bottom. It's
yeah,
the
you're not
13th.
fooling anybody.
You're not fooling anyone. Satan will not be fooled.
No.
Not today, not ever. So
So,
that was the first part. Wait, there's more. So then I wanted to know how the hell did this start? Like why this superstition where we're just completely canceling out 13th floors and it's this like just 85% of hotels. I'm assuming they graded off of hotels that go up to level 13. Let's hope.
Mhm.
It's literally just because of superstition around the number 13. There's no horrible story. There's no dark history. It's literally just because people are superstitious of this number. I didn't get deep enough to figure out why people are superstitious of the number 13, but I think it's interesting that we do that. And then we also find our Bible in a drawer in every hotel room. Two very interesting dynamics that seem
Yeah.
to oppose each other.
No,
So,
absolutely. I yeah, see when I appreciate that you said that, it's not fooling anybody if you're just make it the
oh,
14th floor, like, cause come on, I'm smarter than that. And then, and just think like I love the idea of just evil doubling up, being like, you know what, let's put it on the fucking 13th floor. Check this. It's gonna equal 13.
the room number. It's gonna
Not adding 14 and 8. No, that's not going to do it. That's not what we meant. That's not how we want you to read it. It's 1 plus 4 plus 0 plus 8, which I'm also kind of wondering, we'll jump around again a bit. But when you walk in, to this hotel, it clearly shows he walks in, and there's a sign, or he gets to the 14th floor, 13th floor, right? But gets out, and then one of the first things he sees going down the hallway is that, this direction is, rooms 1400 to 1430. To which I'm like, why 1408 specifically when you have 1417 and 1426 available as well? And then I guess I wonder if you say destroy 1408, which, spoiler alert, he
you do.
does. I'm like, I don't know. You got two other rooms if you want to kind of keep it going. So I'm kind of curious how loose we are with the number 13 here. But then I was thinking, am I finding 13s everywhere, or is that a what was that Jim Carrey movie where he sees the same number everywhere? I forget which number it was. Fuck, come on,
The
the
number
number.
23.
That's the one. So
It took me a second.
yeah, so yeah, I don't know. And then so we have our thoughts on the number 13. I don't know. It's funny though, as much as I talk about how much flying can fuck me up, I've stayed on the 13th row. Have you?
I've never even considered that.
Right? Maybe I
Or
don't know why
like
it's
thought about it.
why is it hotel specific that you just need to be involved in the 13th level or something, you know?
That is interesting, especially because okay, so the other thing was that they referenced the like actual like phobia that's associated with the fear of the number 13, which I could try if you want me to try to say it aloud.
Go for it.
I did not look up the phonetic spelling, so
I'll edit it out.
no you won't. Triskaidekaphobia? It's like triskaidekaphobia. Look it up. See if
Fear
you
of the
can.
number 13 is triskaidekaphobia,
Oh,
triskaidekaphobia,
triskaidekaphobia. You got it.
maybe.
I think that's right.
It's also a reason for the fear of Friday the 13th. Oh, so there's actually specific fear of Friday the 13th, which is called
Yes.
paracathetria. Oh, shit. It's two different ones. You decide which ones. Yeah, it's an either or. It's either paracathetria or frigatriskaidekaphobia. Both of both is
Who's
used as
coming
early as 1910 by Isidore Coriat in Abnormal Psychology. As I'm just
who's
reading right
coming
off
up
the Google.
who's coming up with these names?
I love it. I don't really have a fear of the number 13. I feel like I embrace it and its spooky qualities. You know,
It is I consider it to be my lucky number.
you got married
Um
on a Friday the 13th.
I did. I got married on a Friday the 13th, and next year, I think next year it rolls back around to the Friday the
Mm.
13th. But Yeah, I consider it to be my lucky number. And actually, the Italians, traditional Italians, consider it good luck to be married on a Friday the 13th.
Well, there you go.
I researched that. I was like, does anyone think this is a good idea? I asked the internet. The internet
The
spoke.
Italians love
The
it.
Italians do, and if they do, then I'm with it. But I've never had any fear of the number 13. I've always felt like it was my lucky number, and yeah, I just never really think about it.
How do you feel about I know I'm taking another, I'm taking a non sequitur here, but this is a Stephen King, or based on a Stephen King short story, and I guess I wanted to ask, this is the first and probably not the last time that we're going to be discussing something based off Stephen King material, but kind of
Mhm.
curious what your thoughts are on just Stephen King in general.
Well, another thing that I just found out
Love it.
this go around was that this was like a short story by Stephen King. I didn't know. I should have known because I feel like all that man does is write. How could he have time for anything else? He has so many books, novellas, short stories, all the things, and so many different like movie or television interpretations of his writing. I Okay, I'm going to be very honest with everyone. I am not a reader. I do not enjoy reading fiction whatsoever. I only read nonfiction. So, the only books that I have attempted to read that were outside of an academic setting have actually been Stephen King. And I enjoy his stories, but his writing is quite it's quite detailed. And for some reason that actually takes me out of it because then like he's working so hard to build it for me that it's taking away from what I pictured in my mind. If that Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
But
I
I enjoy film adaptations of his work. Um I can think of several off the top of my head that I really love.
Yeah, I think me too. I don't gosh, I wouldn't call myself much of a reader. I try to. And then do I? I don't know.
That's why
But
we're talking about movies and not
that's
books,
a
everyone.
yeah.
So
This is why
deal with
yeah.
it.
If you're a nerd, go to the book podcast. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Go to the horror book podcast. I don't know what that would be called, but no, I hear you. I mean, I think just in general though, it makes sense that this is a Stephen King story. Usually, it's about some drunk writer dealing with some spooky shit, that
Mhm.
he's bottling up. So that makes sense because that seems to be like a pretty common thread. And I think I never really got into like the giant, like the larger, like universe building of Stephen King stories. I kind of enjoy them as just kind of isolated things, like, and even then, yeah, man, I can't think of, if I said my top 10 favorite like horror movies or whatever, I don't know if a Stephen King adaptation would show up in there. But gosh, there's so many, when you think of
Mhm.
like It and Misery and
Mhm.
Children of the Corn, right? Isn't it Children of the Corn? No, Pet Cemetery. I'm thinking of Pet
Yeah, Pet
Cemetery.
Cemetery.
Sorry. Fuck kids. I'm thinking about pets coming back to life. But I guess kids coming back to life at some point in that too. But
Mhm.
um and then this. And then also like, Alan Wake is one of my favorite video games, and that's very
Mhm.
much like
Feels
may
very
as well have
Stephen
been
King
based off of Stephen
inspired.
King. Yeah, whatever isn't based off Stephen King is based off like Twilight Zone or Twin Peaks, so
Yeah.
it's all of my things that I love. But yeah, I hear you, so I was but I don't think I see like based off something from Stephen King and go like, oh my god, I absolutely need to see this because this dude
Yes.
just is the I don't know.
He just has a lot. Like
He's a lot.
I yeah, he's a lot. He just has a lot of stories, many that I haven't even encountered yet, I'm sure. And what I do like about him, I heard this in another podcast, but he pretty much will say yes to anyone for his work, like new directors, new filmmakers. Like he doesn't care about their experience level, and maybe he's just doing it for the coin, which respect to that. But also like I like that he's just like, fine, go ahead, go for it. Make a make a film or a television show about something I wrote and see what you can do with it.
But I like with Maximum Overdrive, he was like, you know what? I need to do this myself. This one, this
Yeah.
is a single vision, a singular vision, and I need to see. I don't know, for some reason, I don't know. It's been a long
Detroit.
time I've seen that movie, but I just remember maybe like they were like shooting like Coke cans at like Boy Scouts and knocking some
I have
kids
not
out.
seen
And
that movie in ages.
do you know? Oh, okay, but you know the general
Yeah.
kind of situation.
Yeah.
But I like this movie, and I'll be honest, like it isn't so much the Stephen Kingness of this movie as it is like, oh my gosh, I don't. Have you ever been on the Tower of Terror ride at Disneyland? Well, it used to be California Adventure until they changed it to Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think the only Tower of Terror left is still at Orlando. There might be some other ones at the other Disneys. Could be.
I feel like you know me well enough to know that I would not go on the Tower of Terror. I don't fuck with anything that drops in that way. It's
That
not
was.
happening.
I know you're not much of a roller coaster person in
No.
general. Not that that's a roller coaster as it is. It just drops you, you know.
Mm.
But I feel like saying if you've been on Tower of Terror, you would watch this movie and be like, this movie's like pretty much the way they shoot the ghosts. You know, like that they're these like
Yeah.
old timey kind of sepia like old timey ghosts that kind of crackle through the screen. That's like
Hmm.
exactly how it looks when you're going up Tower of Terror and you go up to each level and the fake Rod Serling is like telling you like this family came to blah 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 blah. Little did they know their, one way stop to the hotel would be blah blah blah. You as he says,
See,
right?
if I could just do the going up and seeing all the fun spooky things, that'd be fantastic. I will walk my ass back down the stairs. You don't even have to take me down slowly. Like I'll make the trip down. So I would love, yeah, the most thrills I go for is the Haunted Mansion, which is
Uh,
actually mentioned in this movie.
you can, yeah, I think you can go on YouTube and just like watch someone go on Tower of Terror. And
That's true.
so you should, I was looking that, and you should, I would recommend it. Um, so gosh, any general stuff before we want to just hop right into this?
Yes, I have one more thing.
Go for
We
it.
have to commemorate this moment because I don't know what order these episodes are going to happen in real time, but this is our first movie, first film that we're talking about that actually has ghosts in it that aren't ghost face.
Allegedly, right? Or is it
Allegedly.
just an evil fucking room, as Samuel L. Jackson says? I don't know. Um,
It, it feels like there's ghosts involved. I have some questions.
it is the first straight up haunting, I feel like, of any
Yes.
set, right? Um, but I agree. I know it's about time. Sorry, everybody.
Cheers to us.
Cheers to us. We finally made it. Something with a ghost in it. On three, two, one, ghost. Any thoughts on our very small cast? I feel like people that have more than 5 lines, it's really just John Cusack, Samuel L.
Mhm.
Jackson, and see Mary
His wife.
McCormick. Yeah,
Hmm.
Mary McCormick. Really, and then the
That's his
daughter.
wife.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or are they officially divorced?
No, you're
Or
right.
are they just
They're
separated? Kind of
separated.
situation. It's
Hmm. They're
complicated.
separated.
It's just a job, in and out. That's how I talk about every
Hmm.
time I'm writing about spooky stuff. Um, any thoughts on our cast? John Cusack. He's a household name. I
He's
refrain
great.
from using industry legend on these because if you star in a movie, and if you star in multiple movies, I don't know. Usually I save the IL tag for your more character actor behind, always kind of
I
side character types.
I feel like yeah, you can't often or always be the lead. And also I think about someone like Samuel L. Jackson. He's been in so many films that of course he's going to overlap horror every now and then.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't give either of them industry legend status, but I love them both. And I think the marketing for this movie is extremely misleading. I really would think that Samuel L. Jackson is in this movie way more than he is for him being on the movie posters. And if you watch the trailer, they pretty much show his whole entire time in the film.
Yeah, I feel like I would say at least like a third of his time is inside of a refrigerator, inside of a mini fridge.
Yes.
So
To which that's the scariest part of the movie. I was like, where the fuck did the snacks go? Why are the snacks gone?
I know.
He's gonna
Um,
starve.
I would not give the IL tag to either of those two. Certainly, yeah, not John Cusack. Now, if it was Joan Cusack starring in this movie, then yes, 100%.
Mhm. I
Um,
agree.
oh, oh, I would love to see a 1408 with Joan Cusack. Woo.
Mm. Do
Oh,
a
actually,
remake.
just see every John Cusack movie replaced with Joan Cusack. I would actually, I think High Fidelity would be even better. And I liked High Fidelity a lot. And I like, yeah, Hot Tub Time Machine with Joan Cusack. Yeah. See, it doesn't work the other way around, because you would never want to see
No.
John Cusack in Adam's Family Values.
No.
No,
You
get out of here.
ruin it.
That's my Barbie is Joan Cusack at the end of
Yes.
that movie.
So good.
But, I like John Cusack. I think he just gets lumped in. Just like it's like how I like all the Baldwins, I like all the Murrays, I like all the Arquettes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like is there one that's clearly like
The
like
Gyllenhaals are the ones that don't have me.
I I've got nothing against Maggie Gyllenhaal, but Jake
have nothing
Gyllenhaal's been
against-
in a few real good movies.
I have nothing against either of them, but I'm trying to think of like a movie that either of them are in that I absolutely love. Maybe you can think of one off the top of your head.
Oh my god, why is it blanking?
Don't say Donnie Darko.
No, God. He plays, oh my God. He plays, he's a photographer in LA. It's called Nightcrawler.
Oh,
That movie's really good. I would recommend that. It's more
Okay.
it's more of like a thriller,
Okay.
but it's, that was good. And also, I guess maybe that's it. I know the person that made Nightcrawler made a sequel that was a little weirder, that was like a horror movie, pseudo horror movie based on like art installations. I don't know. Here we go. Audience is
Okay.
like, okay, Kyle.
I thought of one that I like for Maggie. There was a movie, I want to say it was in the early 2000s, called Secretary. And it is pretty much 50 Shades of Grey before 50 Shades of Grey. I don't know when the book was written, but before the movie came out. Like she's like doing a BDSM situation with her boss, and it is super hot, and she's great in it. So I
Good for
would
her.
recommend that movie if you're a 50 Shades of Grey fan, which I've never read or watched the movies, but it has same vibe.
And I couldn't get away without at least bringing up some main cast member of Dawson's Creek, but I know that she replaced Katie Holmes in that second Christopher Nolan Batman movie.
Oh yeah.
Only to get blown up.
Yeah.
What can you do? So this movie starts with John Cusack, who plays a character named Mike Enslin, who is his job is a writer, but specifically
Dream job.
Dream job on my notes right here.
Yes.
He goes from town to town, and whether it's like what's like spooky houses, spooky campgrounds, spooky lighthouses, I forget all the books that he's written, but it's always like the top 10 spookiest places of this place, or of this region and this region.
Mhm.
And this job of going just from place to place in like small town to small town, staying at bed and breakfasts, being comped and being told spooky stories and writing about them. Yeah, no, absolutely. I was thinking, I feel like it's more common in romantic comedies, where the lead character is, just this woman that's trying to figure it out, but she, writes about weddings for the back page of the newspaper,
Yeah.
or she works, she's a blogger that sells her anonymous things to this magazine, or just some ridiculous like
Yeah.
job that very so few people have, that you're like, oh, that's just such a perfect job that people who watch this, that want to like imprint themselves onto the star of these rom-coms, like what they want to be. But gosh, it's like catnip for me, like in movies like this,
Oh.
because I'm seeing John Cusack and I'm just like, oh my god, this is exactly what I want to do. If you ask anybody, I have 3 dream jobs. Want to hear them?
Serum.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Listen.
um First of all, this one. So
John
absolutely,
Cusack.
absolutely inspired by this movie. And then I think anybody who knows me knows, host of any sort of paranormal reality situation.
Mm.
Same difference, just you put me on TV, I get to ham it up. I like that. Just make me a ghost hunter. I'd love that. And then of course, I feel like I've been very vocal, at least to my closer confidants, about like, man, dude, I could be such a good game show host. But I'd be
Ooh, I
like,
could see that.
yeah, but I'd be like one of those like
Mhm.
really like encouraging, like ones that like really hypes people up. Like, dude, bro, don't even worry about this. Don't stress. You just got to decide what price it is. It's always going to be, hey, you know what? Inflation, it'll be right eventually, that price, Like, so dude, just take care of yourself. We're all here. We're rooting for you. Everyone's going to win today. So I really feel,
I think
but
I think 2 and 3 are a definite. I think both of those are possibilities for you.
thank you.
John Cusack's job, however, I don't know if like him being slightly rude to people is part of his gig, but I felt really bad for the couple at the bed and breakfast. I was like, I feel like they really think that place is haunted and they're just, he kind of just like is like, okay, yeah, haunted, sure. Ooh, she hung herself. How creepy. Like that's the vibe he's giving. And I'm like, I get that you've done this a million times, but one, it's your fucking job. Two,
Yeah.
I would be like, let's sit by the fire, drink some hot cocoa, and you tell me all the ghost stories that have happened in this place. Like that would be lit.
Dude, 100%. I'd come in. I was thinking the same thing. I would come in there and just be like, "You are such a sweet woman. Tell me your story, you beautiful
Yeah.
couple. First of all, I love you both. Tell me about this ghost story, and then tell me about yourselves, because I'd love that.
Yeah.
Love to work that in. And then
Yeah.
also, I'll go check out the room tonight. Whatever. I'll get there. Let's get my bags. Let's go get that cocoa. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it."
It
I would be very grateful and a very willing recipient
mhm.
of spooky stories. Um,
Yeah. He has a book. There was one called The 10 Scariest Mansions.
yeah.
And I was like, that sounds awesome. I wanna know the 10.
Dude, and then just to go to these book appearances and just sit and just talk with people about, like, he just rambles on about just
Yeah.
the existence of ghosts and all of the, and he also does like has like all the equipment kind of situation, or he talks
Yeah.
about it briefly, right? Where he does the kind of, the EMF reader, I think that's the acronym,
Mhm.
or the black light situation, which, spoiler alert, if you would have put a black light on in any hotel room, it's all gonna look
You're
like
not
some
gonna like what
murder
you
scene
see.
happened. You're not gonna like what you see. So
Yeah.
sure, but go for it. Hopefully his publisher's paying for that. Right.
So what I'm so curious about is because it seems like he's written many books
Yeah.
about this particular topic, not just his previous novel
Hmm.
that's brought up pretty early on. I I was under the impression that he was looking for ghosts because of his daughter's passing, that he was like, "Oh, like if I can find a ghost, then maybe there's a way to, contact the dead."
Hmm.
But if he's written that many and she said that he left about a year ago. So I guess it could have been a while ago that the daughter died.
That's
I
a
was trying to
really
do the math.
quick turnaround time to make like a hard pivot to like, I don't know. I just think like, you're this guy that just writes, you have this like one novel or two, know who knows how
Hmm.
many novels he has, and then all of a sudden that's a pretty big career change. Is that now I want to write about haunted, hotels and lighthouses.
Hmm.
Um, so does he go to that same publisher like that he has like a situation with, and does he go to his agent and say, I'm gonna do this now. I'm just gonna
I I would think so.
I would hope so. I mean, I would, but good on, I don't know.
Yeah, because he seems genuinely surprised when that woman walks up with the novel. He's like, I think he says, "Where did you get this?" or something
Yeah.
like that. And so it implies that, I mean, it couldn't have been a big novel if it's obscure and hard to find.
Mhm.
So I mean, how well established could he have been with his publisher
Right.
at that
And
point?
so, and then you also, I think learn a little bit at some point is like not only was he a novelist at some point, but then also an avid surfer. So good for him. I know the one thing I just, I mean, we're both from Southern California, right? We've both been to
Hmm.
beaches before, right? Never been to, I don't know if I've been in Hermosa Beach, but the one thing that just always drove me up the wall in this movie is just how easily he's able to find parking. He just shows up. He just parks like
Right up front.
right up front, and then also later on in the movie, even in his dream, or like when you think he's out of the hotel,
Yeah.
um, he he's with his estranged wife or whatever,
Hmm.
and there's an open spot right next to his other car. She just pulls right up and parks too, and I'm like, shut the fuck up.
And he just has a pile of parking tickets. And I'm like, that shit would have been towed days ago.
Oh
They
yeah.
the beach, they're like, fuck this, you're out. Like, we need these precious parking spaces. That's the most unrealistic part of the movie.
Oh yeah, they'd be like
The
that shit would
parking
be towed
situation
at
at the
the
beach.
very least a boot on that thing. And then they would be like, shit's towed and we're not gonna tell you where we took it.
Mhm.
So um so he's doing his surfing, doing all that situation. And then I don't know, did you think for a second that he, when he eats shit, while surfing, and then you find him like, on the beach and someone helps get him bring him back. Do you think like died here and everything is like this weird fever dream from that moment on? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a theory people actually think about or talk about with this movie, but
I Because I hadn't seen this movie in so long and probably had only watched it twice prior to this, I genuinely didn't remember what what actually happens if he gets out of the room, if he doesn't. I knew once they show him getting out of the room, I was like, okay, he's not actually like out of the room. This is lingering on way too long. But I did think for a second that maybe it was just like like he had died and this was some weird purgatory or limbo, something of that nature that he was stuck in. So, one of the reasons that I thought he might actually be dead
mhm.
after this surfing incident is this mysterious postcard situation. And I try to keep in mind, like, as I was watching it from now this Stephen King perspective, I'm assuming that we're missing information because that happens a lot when you're adapting something from written to screen. But you've got this mysterious postcard. Who sent this mysterious postcard? He doesn't seem to have many fans from his book signing. There was what, four people there?
Right.
So he's not receiving an excessive amount of fan mail or anything like that. The hotel clearly does not want people there. So in my mind, I'm like, that seems like something supernatural, which the whole movie has supernatural occurrences in it, but it feels as though it's like some sort of invitation to an afterlife or something like that. So I was thinking to myself, where did this come from? This this postcard, and was it a test of like, would he be tempted to go back to, what he knew and what he was doing during his normal life, or would he ignore it and move on into the next, whatever the afterlife is? But I think I was just giving it way too much credit. I don't know who sent that postcard,
I don't think it was like it was Samuel L. Jackson. I thought he was pretty clear
No.
about, or Olin was his name, I think, about
Hmm.
not wanting anybody in there. I guess the room can send its own, you know,
Lore's possible victims.
right? They probably bought like a bunch of forever stamps years ago that now, for like super cheap.
It got extra creative after the manager stopped booking the room. They're like, well, great. Now we need some
Right.
other means to get people in here. And he was the perfect person.
I don't know. If I get a weird postcard from somebody, well, I don't know. So he so he calls up maybe industry legend Tony Shalhoub on the phone. Who's in a bunch of fun things. I mean, I probably know him most from Galaxy Quest and Men in Black than
Hmm.
those two, but he's always a winner.
Yeah.
Um and then but he calls him up because he tries reaching out to this hotel and they're saying like, oh yeah, no, it's not available this time ever, right?
Hmm.
And now they try to make it like a civil rights situation. Did you catch that where they're like, no, 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 we found this law where it's a civil rights thing that like they have to make that room available to you? And I'm like, I don't know if that's like how hotel law works and how
Or
that gets
just law in
superseded
general.
by federal law and how all that works into haunted hotels. But it seemed pretty thin.
Yeah, it seems pretty silly. I obviously like I'm not an expert in hotel law. That'll be something also to send to the research team as well.
That's why we got him.
But I really enjoy like for how little I feel like Samuel L. Jackson is in this movie. I
Mhm.
really enjoy everything between him and John Cusack in that office when he's trying to convince him not to stay in the room because you almost feel like he's going to change his mind and he's like, okay, I'm just going to take this folder and look through it. But he still gives him the folder to look through even after he stays in the room, to which I was like, no, no, you don't get the folder if you stayed in the room. Like that was part of the agreement.
Yeah, dude, it's either or, man. Like fucking set your parameters and stick with them. Come on. I
Yeah.
and then I liked also how yeah, he tried to say not to stay in the room, but ultimately he was like, whatever, dude. Like just like everybody else, you're all just gonna go for it and he's not gonna fight it. Like he
Yeah.
could have just said, I lost the key, I don't know where it is. Like I don't know. Or just you could have just straight up got rid of the key. If it's the only one that works on
Yeah.
an actual key, I don't know. But at the same time, I guess I maybe just related a little bit with Samuel L. Jackson and you probably to some extent, our experiences in middle management. It's like, you know what?
Fucking
Fuck you
fine.
then. Fuck you then. Take the fucking room. See what fucking happens.
Go
Whatever.
die.
Yeah, go fucking die, dude.
Go
I'm
die
gonna
in that
go.
room.
You know what? You go fucking go for it. So
Yep.
I definitely um have some empathy there for for
Hmm.
Samuel L. Jackson in
Oh,
that
for sure.
situation where I'm just some asshole or no, we're just some asshole middle-aged white dude is just trying to like fucking just demand that he just is entitled to something and you're just like, you know what, dude, go fuck off, dude,
Well, and
whatever.
I was also thinking about this is me going on a total tangent. So recently, a nearby hotel, posted a job posting for hotel manager. So Lafayette. And that the like manager job for that tiny hotel in San Diego was paying over $100,000 of salary. And so I thought to myself, that hotel that Samuel L. Jackson is managing is in New York. It is massive and it is fancy. Even he's making more money than John Cusack to manage this hotel. Like he's got the fancy liquor and like all the nice thing. His suit is lovely. Like I was like, he's living it up. So I would totally just be like, you know what, you dumb writer. Go ahead. Stay in that room. Enjoy.
There's like you can get a degree in like hotel management and like hospitality
Absolutely.
services. That's like a real
Hmm.
no joke situation.
Yeah. That's high pressure. high pressure. No, thank you.
I've seen White Lotus. It's hard on that poor guy.
That's what it's like in real life.
Yeah. The second he's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna sue you because of this, this, and this," I'm just like, okay, yeah, fine, get fucked, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I kind of wish that the room was kind of like all like a ruse, like a just kidding, or look, what'd you think? Because I did
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that would
like
be
they
kind
were
of
kind
funny,
of, yeah,
and I would
like
have
kind of
enjoyed
like
it.
playing little tricks with him. The other thing that I really enjoy too is when he's going over how they like maintain the room
Uh-huh.
month monthly. But I love the idea of him not entering the room, but being like, you know what? The maintenance crew, they're getting in there.
Yeah, the wait,
I hope
yeah.
they are paid well.
I was thinking it would be that, we're talking about our dream jobs. I'm thinking what would be the exact opposite. And I think hotel cleaning staff, because just all the weird shit you're gonna walk in on. You could all the
Oh,
weird shit you could walk in on in any random hotel. I
mm-hmm.
don't know. I don't like those surprises. So
Mm-mm.
no, thank you. That would be a least desired job for me. And bless the people that do it. That's why yeah.
I mean,
I always
really,
leave tips, and then I remember someone telling me, this is an urban legend. I remember someone telling me that if you don't specifically say what the money's for, they put it in some mystery lost and found. And I don't think that's really true. But when I do leave
no.
tips at a hotel, I will write a note specifically like, this money is for housekeeping for a tip. Thank you. I appreciate you. Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
So I've left tips before. I didn't leave a note of any kind, but I think that would be one of the perks is like there can't be cameras in those rooms. I'm taking that tip. But I
You,
guess,
assu-
oh,
you
okay. I
assume
could
there's no
see,
cameras in those rooms.
you know what? You know what though? If the guest came back and was like, "Hey, I left $20 on the table and all of a sudden it's missing," then someone would be in trouble. So, you know what? The handwritten note is not a bad idea. I will do that going forward. And I mean, your best case scenario as this cleaning crew is that you'll walk in on some crazy obscene act happening in a hotel room rather than getting locked in the bathroom and stabbing out your own eyes.
Yeah, I know. That's for they should just like tie like you know just tie like ropes around their waists and just like and tie each other
So
together
we
in a
can
situation, and they can all just kind of
pull.
push. Yeah, that's how I was thinking. Like we should think this through if they have to go into the room that often.
Just seems it seems silly to maintain the room at that like with that high of a risk level. I think after the eye stabbing, I would say to myself, maybe we just let it be.
and all it
Just
takes is a Molotov to handle it. I'm like, why didn't they just do that to begin
yeah, just
with?
start with that.
You didn't just try, at least just try that
Yeah.
once. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I do like that, ultimately he's just like, I'm still staying. I wonder, I wrote, how many times does Samuel Jackson have to have this conversation with somebody that wants to stay in the
Yeah.
room, and just whatever. And then I did write down his leather bound collection of death, that he has all of these, like, and it's not even just like, yeah, he has like crime scene photographs that he's like
Just in
obtained all
his
of this
drawer.
evidence. Just okay, sure. I'm pretty sure you don't get access to all of that, but
No.
um so he elects to stay in the room anyway because he needs to, right? Because how else are we gonna have a story here?
Hmm.
Um Now when he's in this room, how spooky does shit need to get before you're like, oh,
Mm.
okay, I need to go?
I had the same question for you. Would it be like, would the chocolates on the pillow, because you like that bed was like disheveled from him sitting in it. It was not a made bed. And he turns around and the bed is made with the little chocolates. That's the first like spooky incident, right?
I mean, I would think that would be helpful. I wouldn't call that spooky.
I would Are you kidding? Like there's a bed behind me right now. If I messed up that bed, turned back this way and then went back and it was made, I would it could be the friendliest ghost. I'd be like, "Peace. I'm out."
How many times how many times do you put on a jacket and then you wear it throughout the day and then you put your hand in the pocket and then realize you found like a dollar or like a $20 bill in there and you're like, oh, dang, look at this. That's awesome. I don't remember how
Does
this
that
got there,
happen to
but
you
whatever.
often?
Well, I mean, but what? So it's happened to be at least once or twice, and it's a thing.
Wish.
Well, I mean, it's you don't just go like, ah, it's got to be ghosts. I mean, I think we should.
In that specific situation where I'm
Mhm.
in a maybe haunted room, I mean, I think my logical brain would say, okay, they're fucking with me the same way that he did and look around, but it would spook me enough that I might be like, I need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think resetting the chocolates and the toilet paper and the bed and all of that.
The
Like, you know,
toilet
even he
paper?
said,
Come on now.
even even he was saying like, hey, look, y'all just got efficient, lovely wait staff ghosts. That's fine. Though I don't like the idea of, I don't know, being in the afterlife and like,
Still doing your job.
yeah, right. I don't know.
That's a scary premise.
He talks about just, hotel rooms in general. There's kind of a funny thing, he's just talking about, hotel rooms are just like a naturally, spooky place, which, like, I mean, maybe not really. He doesn't give a whole lot of examples, but he does say, like, you wonder like how many people had been through here, how many were
Mm-hmm.
sick, how many lost their minds, how many died. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. You can kind of like apply that to like anything. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, now seeing that movie, like I'll walk into a Best Buy and just think to myself, how many people were sick? How many people died? How many people lost their minds?
But Best Buy,
just
many.
going through a Best Buy or just walking, yeah, or maybe like walking through an IKEA would be a better, you know. And I'm gonna ask that next time I walk through an IKEA. I'll just ask that out loud. Um, and of course, I'm always getting the Groundhog Day vibes when you have like that same kind of '60s
Hmm.
song that just plays over. Like this one is "We've Only Just Begun" by fuck
Carpenters.
Carpenters. Thank you. Not the Sonny and Cher song from Groundhog Day,
Hmm.
but
Which the Karen Carpenter has a very sad story. Yeah, she was anorexic for many, many years, like very, very, like very thin. And when she was in recovery, I just recently was reading about this. This was before watching this movie. If you put on enough weight and you've been underweight long enough, you can actually have heart attack. Like your body can't handle the additional weight. And she had a heart attack at like somewhere between 30 and 35 and
dang, that
died.
is very sad.
It
Oh,
is really sad. And like I want to say she wasn't even at a healthy weight yet. She only had put on a small amount of weight. It's a very sad story.
yeah, dang.
I don't know if that has anything to do with why they chose that song or just because it's we've only just begun.
Or is it, yeah, a situation like who is it? The John Denver song in Final Destination, where it's like, I
Yeah.
wonder how his family feels. Just being just,
Yeah.
yeah, using that.
These people with
Um,
sad stories.
I know. The other thing is, he mentioned, yeah, he's like, nobody makes it an hour inside 1408. Which, the when they start playing the Carpenter song, it has that 60 minutes countdown. I assume that's why they had
Mhm.
set it to 60 and it's going down. Um, I don't know if this is a thing, and I'll ask the research teams. I don't feel like looking it up, but now this is a very real. I wouldn't call it a phobia as much as it is an anxiety or an aversion, maybe, to things counting down. It makes me very, very
Oh,
nervous, to the point where I will. Sorry, y'all are my therapists now.
yeah.
To the point where I will often turn something off on the microwave when it's at 2 seconds, before it turns off.
Wow.
Or if I set my alarm to, and I think this is just more just, your body just in a rhythm, but like I will set my alarm and I will always wake up a minute or two before it's about to go off. And
Do you
and
turn it off?
I will sometimes I'll wake up and I'll be like, well, usually me, I'll wake up and be like, I can sleep in another half an hour. Who am I kidding? Come on. And even though it's not a good idea, because that's my half awake brain thinking like, oh yeah, I
Hmm.
can. so I'll
Yeah, we've
set
all
it.
been there.
So I'll set it for another half an hour and then wake up 28 minutes later. Like it's like I'm always like,
I do that with the alarm situation, but not out of like worrying about a countdown. I've never had that issue. I thought that you were going to say
mhm,
the idea of like a time loop is what frightens you because I'm assuming after that hour is up and everything goes back to normal and the operator, the phone operator who's like the MVP of this movie is, like, would you like to live this out over and over again for the rest of eternity or whatever she says? And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
we're like in a time loop situation. Like he could go through this many times, and that's why everyone only lasts an hour, no matter how many times they're actually faced with the situation.
I felt the MVP or maybe most reasonable person in this movie was the technician that was sent up. You know, it was just like I'm not stepping fucking in there. No, absolutely not. You can any idiot can fix that. Do it yourself.
Is he the last like real person that he encounters? Because I almost felt like maybe he's a ghost. The way that he exits the situation, he's like already around the corner. I'm like, is was he not even ever there?
I put most reasonable person in the whole movie. Vanishes like Batman. Was he a ghost?
I thought to myself, I was like, this guy, yeah, I put maintenance guy, a ghost? Question mark, question mark. He doesn't come in, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, John Cusack, like, does he have an opportunity to then
Yeah.
leave the room in that moment if the door is open and he even like peeks out a little bit and looks down the hallway, like he's out of the room. And my thought process is like, oh, you're stuck in there. So that may have been his last chance to escape, unless that was all part of
Yeah.
the room's ruse and he wasn't even there, didn't even open the door. He felt like a very like real and reasonable person, but the way he exits the situation and the fact that the
Right.
phone operator, the woman at the front desk, is the person who, you know, gets him to come, although her tone changes quite a bit in the next phone call from the first.
And like I get that, you know, there's some stuff that happens that makes him very uncomfortable. You know, I mean, like yeah, burning your hand on the hot water, that's really annoying.
Mm,
Having the place be at like 0 degrees and snowing, yeah, that's really
mm.
uncomfortable. I don't, I hear
Mhm.
that, but I was thinking like, what else would happen in this movie? And I kind of asked it a little bit earlier, where it's like, what would it take to get you to be like, oh, okay, this is too much? Like, because I feel like for most of it in that ramping up, I'm like, this isn't so bad, dude. I'm like, I'm just watching like static people go and jump out windows. Like, yeah, I'm
Yeah, they
seeing
don't
some
seem to
chocolates
be.
get reset. Now, granted, I will say I do not have, a me and my dad are on good terms, so I don't have this like weird, like a strange, like, terminally ill dad situation, nor do I have a dead daughter. So I feel like most of the stuff that like really pushed him over the edge were just like the very real scenarios involving those two people. So like me, I'm like, what would they like if I stepped in 1408, like what are they going to use? I
Yeah,
got
I thought
nothing.
a
I
lot
feel
about that
nothing.
too. There's not, while there are things that are scary if you're in that situation, watching the movie, I don't think any of this is scary. But I feel like this is very much like suspense and maybe a little bit of mystery.
Mm,
But it's it's not like trying to scare him. It feels like it's trying to like find trauma and use that against him and like traumatize him, which I get. You're like what are you going to do? The other thing with the dad. So
mhm.
you get the mention of the dad in the novel because the fan, she's like, like is that story true? Like between the son and the dad? And he's like, no. And clearly he's saying yes. And then he has that like flashback of his dad, presumably in a nursing home, and they show that moment and then you just see nothing else of the dad. I'm like, we could have just cut that out. That didn't really do much for me because the things with the dead daughter, that shit is brutal. Like they that room puts him through it
You
with
have a
the dead
kid,
daughter.
that's your weakness. I
That's the
watch it and be like,
weakness.
I'm like, nah, I don't care.
That's fucked up. Like how, oh my God, when she's like alive and then she dies in his arms and he's like, not again. And I was like, fuck, that's brutal. And
It's
then she
pretty
just
bad.
turns to dust. Like
I
I was like, that room is fucked up. That is some cruel shit.
The only notes I put regarding the kid are kid looks like the kid from Elf, and then also daughter falling to ashes and bones is pretty good because that was a pretty fun one. And that's
It's rough.
after he comes back from that, you know, kind of that
Yeah.
you know, the dream within a dream or whatever, where you think he's out, which was pretty good. I mean, I do think it was ultimately kind of corny how they like brought him back into the room, which I'm like,
Oh, with the guys like hammering down the walls.
yeah, it's weird how much of this place, like the second most used scene or second most used location in this movie is that post office,
You
right?
know what
But
I did enjoy
Mhm.
was when he's seeing the ghosts walking around. So like when they're at the restaurant and he sees the woman that jumps out the window and then he turns back and it's someone else. I thought that was pretty fun because he's seeing like cracks
They're hinting,
through
yeah.
like the illusion, which I thought was really fun. And then okay, going back to nursing homes really quick, I totally forgot to mention my notes, my additional notes on the number 13. This is a trick. I did not know any of these things. So some hotels don't have a room number 13, which I knew, but there are hospitals that won't have a room number 13 in their regular hospital or their emergency room wing. And nursing homes will often avoid the number 13 on their room numbers as well. I had no idea.
I love how much this specific superstition just has a stranglehold on so many of our institutions.
You know, it's like
But
be
it's never
like
the other
no
way
one using
around.
be like people stopping using ladders in public spaces because they're like, oh, we can't have anybody walking underneath these.
And it doesn't work the other way around where they're like, you know, just have like 5 room 7s. Yeah. You know what I mean?
This is gonna be an extra lucky hotel.
Yeah. All of them are room 7 and they're all on the 7th floor. So maybe that's, you know, maybe that's something, you know, a business situation. Um,
Hmm.
So, yeah, I know. Just when they're back in that post office, and then you see, you know, he's like, "Oh, I got to drop this off. I feel invigorated. I got to drop this off for tomorrow, or it's got to get to New York in the morning." Um, and then just how like it's not even just everyone reveals themselves in just this like shit-eating grin, you know, where it's just like, I'm this person, blah blah blah. You remember me, and the flashback to this, and then you have all the weird
Yeah.
construction guys. And there was a deleted scene here, I think, that had Samuel L. Jackson like being like, see, you can't leave this room, blah blah blah. But I think they thought it
Mm,
made it look like he was too malicious and involved,
yeah.
which, you know,
Yeah. Because it's
um,
already weird enough that he's in the refrigerator when he appears there and he's talking
yeah.
with him because clearly that's part of you know, some sort of illusion or the room creating that because I love that he like congratulates him at the end, still in the hotel that's on fire, just smoking a cigar. Good job.
I do like he's just like, you know, I was out, I was out, I was out, you know, when he's back in the
Hmm.
room, and then, you know, it shows him going crazy, and then it does this thing where it's like, you know, it's like it's the camera's like focused on him, and he's like, you know, holding his head and being like, ah, and then he show
Hmm.
everything spinning around him.
Hmm.
And it just reminded me of the video for Chop Suey.
Oh, that's why.
when, when like and I think it's how, or like
Yes.
because I remember thinking about it earlier today, and I was like, was that like a? It reminds me of like a corn video, which I mean, like in early 2000s, that checks out. But then I was like, no, it's the tox, or no, not toxicity. It's the Chop Suey video, but it's not
You
even
may
the
have
same thing. But I
You
do
may
think it's
have
pretty
also
funny.
been thinking of Freak on a Leash, that video. Isn't there a shot where they're spinning around and he has his hands like on his head?
So I was thinking about corn. Okay, All right. Well, maybe a little bit of both. I think just
Yeah.
the early 2000s new metal,
Yeah.
that was just a feeling that we all had, you know.
And that video would have come out before this movie, so they could have stolen that idea.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah.
videos.
Corn's
This was
pretty fun.
2007.
Yeah.
They're kind of fun. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
um but yeah, I just don't think there's a like, and then honestly getting back to that room, I'm just like, well, okay. You gave me a few days out,
He got a
you
nice
know.
break. Like he
Got a
got
nice
like
break.
a little refresh, got some time with the wife.
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I hope, you know, they got back
I hope,
together.
yeah, I hope they got back together. It
As you
it
know,
felt like they may have.
like I hope so. And then I'm just like, you know, okay, if that's the situation, then is like, okay, I get one night in the hotel room, a week off situation, and then I'm back in the hotel
Hmm.
room. Like, that's like,
Yeah, you're
I
like,
mean, not the
come at
most
me.
opportune situation, but you know, I'd make that work. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, gosh, you know, like it's like work from home a couple days a week. I go into the office a couple
Hmm.
days a week. It's a good blend, right? So I don't know. It's the same situation.
I need to jump back for a little bit because I
Yeah.
skipped over my favorite. I don't know if you would call it a scare, but just like little psychological trick that they play on him.
Uh-huh.
I love when he's looking at the map on the door and he's trying to map out where the next room would be, where the next window would be, goes
Mm.
out the window and is like inching across, and it's just a fucking wall, and there's no other windows except for the windows of that room. I found that very effective. That would be fucking terrifying to me. Like already, I mean, just being out on that roof is an absolute no. But
Well, like how
I love,
bad?
and then the map is different when he goes back, that it's just the room and
It's
it's
pretty
just
good.
blocked by walls. I love that.
It's funny because him going outside and trying to scale like that very small kind of pathway or whatever, trying to get from one window to another. That's what kind of spurred my idea of like, how bad does it need to get in this room for me to like escape in some wild means? And what kind of
Yeah.
spurred that thought was him going outside, because I'm like, I don't fuck with heights. I would not like it. It did not get nearly bad enough in that room for
Mhm.
me to get outside on that window and on that
Mhm.
windowsill and then try to scale that wall over to the next window. I'm not gonna do it.
I
um
agree.
yeah.
Especially when you could like try what he later tries and like bang on the wall and see if someone hears you. But
Yeah.
I will say that ledge that he was walking on actually is a decent sized ledge. Like he could fit his whole feet there. I feel like that's better than, like they weren't that were they hanging off?
Ah, gosh, I can't remember.
He had more I was like, okay, like he's a man. So he's taking up more space on that ledge than I would be. So I
Hmm.
was like, I could fit my little feet.
There
Kinda
you go.
just gonna scurry across.
I know. If they could see the hand with the motion you're
You can all
making,
see the
it
hands.
sells it. Yeah. Yeah, I would not climb out that window. You know, I do like the the paintings. They're all
Mm,
pretty boring paintings, but I do like how they turn spooky,
yeah,
just like they do in the Haunted Mansion, which,
yeah.
which, so not in the same where it's like, you know, you find out they're standing over like a crocodile or something, but
Hmm.
I do like. It's like I feel like you see him at Haunted Mansion, and then you also see him like at like Spirit Halloweens, where it's like you
Yes,
walk by and like, you know, one angle is like a nice person, and then from another angle they look all zombified or whatever.
yes.
So kind of that same situation. They just made the ship all destroyed and put that
Hmm.
one person with the very receding haircut or very receding hairline
Yeah.
on there. I don't know. I thought that was pretty fun, pretty
That's
silly.
actually, that's kind of a fun, inspiring, like family photo idea. You can do like a nice like family photo that like from one direction is like y'all sitting at the park, and then like when you move to the other side, everyone's all zombified.
You got
Right?
2.5 months until Halloween.
I know. Oh, that would be
Or we
fun.
said the time of this recording.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So, um, you know, and then just he decides, fuck it, I'm just going to burn this building down, which is something I don't understand why nobody else tried.
Yeah.
He does say to himself, I live the life of a selfish man, but I don't have to die that way, or something to that extent.
Hmm.
And now I know in the story, like the short story, I think they sell it a little bit more that he's kind of a dickhead,
Hmm.
and like really like
I think they sell it. I think they sell it here. We were thinking about how he was treating that lovely couple in the beginning, and then he just abandoned his wife after the loss of their daughter. That's
does
pretty
that
shitty.
yeah, I don't know if that makes him a selfish person. I guess maybe a little bit. He's gone through some shit though. I don't know. All
I
right.
mean, absolutely, but you know.
And then in the from the mini fridge, Samuel L. Jackson telling him like, people believe in ghosts because they want to believe there's something else out there, on
Mhm.
the other side, and you're debunking is taking that away from people, and I'm just kind of like, I
Mhm.
don't know, bro. Like that is nowhere near as bad as some, seers and psychics and
Oh
your
yeah.
whatevers, who will say they can hear your dead relative. And like, I'm like, I don't know. Him talking about spooky lighthouses in a book, that's not.
Well, and also he's seems to be being pretty transparent on the fact that like while these places may be spooky and he's like seen and heard interesting stories, seen things, he doesn't ever say like, "Oh yeah, there's definitely ghosts." Whereas yeah, like the people that you're talking about that are claiming to talk to a loved one on the other side or something like that are clearly like just preying on human emotion and grieving, and it's you know that's that's terrible. So I mean he's not the worst of the worst, but you know.
It's pretty funny where like, yeah, just, this idea of that, like, they're trying to frame it as he preys on people's superstitions,
Mhm.
yet has one of his own with that cigarette that he keeps in his ear,
Mhm.
which, I mean, cigarettes, especially like exposed to the elements, like they go bad.
Yeah, that was the
I don't know.
cleanest, nicest looking cigarette to keep like, but like assuming he changes it often.
I would assume so. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. But to be honest, yeah, makes me smoking a little bit, to be honest. But hey, I don't know how many years ago I quit. But
A million feels like forever.
every once in a while, though, I'm just watching that. I'm just like, dude, have a cigarette in a haunted
Yeah.
house sounds pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Um, are you familiar with these alternate endings?
Only one that
But
I read
allegedly,
today.
there's four different endings that were shot for this movie.
Really? Do you have all of them?
No, I only have two, so I'm going to make up the others. I'm just kidding. I
Okay,
only
well,
know
let's
the
see which
two.
two you have. Do I have, and maybe I have a different one.
Well, and the thing about the alternate endings is that depending on what streaming service you watch this on, or what watched it on at some point in the last like
Hmm.
5 years, 10 years or so, you could have gotten one of two different endings without being told that it was the alternate ending. So there's two.
That's cuckoo bananas.
So the ending I watched, which is the theatrical ending, the original ending,
Hmm.
um, is he sets the building on fire, and then the firefighters come in and they save him.
Hmm.
And then, they see that you have Samuel L. Jackson being like, well done. Why didn't I think of that?
Yes.
Situation. Let's enjoy a cigar. And then later he's with his like wife and they're now together. And then it
Hmm.
ends with him listening on his tape recorder, which for me in the 90s was a talk boy, after
Hmm.
anyone who watched Home Alone,
Hmm.
and had the means get themselves a talk
Um,
boy.
that's
I had
the
a talk
same
boy junior.
ending. So that's the same ending that I watched.
Uh-huh.
I purchased it on Amazon, and I would just like to say about
Did you
this
purchase this on
theatrical.
Amazon? It's free.
This is the second time that I've done that.
Stop
No, I
it.
did not. Nope, I'm lying. I watched it on Amazon, but it was on Freevee.
Thank
So I
you.
had I had to watch
Ah.
the ads, which
Ooh,
really God, they
what ads
ruined
did
the
you get?
suspense. They're like the most Let's see. Which ones did I get? Did you write down which ads you got?
I did.
Oh, jeez.
No, all I put was that I'm not going to let it affect my boost scale, but I got, and they're always at the most like inopportune times for
Yeah.
Arby's
Oh, they
hush.
cut it off like mid-sentence.
Oh, they'll cut it off
They'll,
mid-sentence and then
yeah.
tell me about Arby's hush puppy fish strips. Um,
I didn't get that one.
you didn't get the Arby's commercials? Oh, that's pretty good.
No.
Um, so now it was free, but yes, at a price because you do
Yeah,
have
I
to.
got a lot of like medical, like medication type commercials and things of that nature.
Hmm,
Um,
I like
so
that.
I had that same ending, the theatrical ending. And I completely forgot about him getting out of the room. I remembered him being dying in the room. I thought
That's
that
what
he
I
was death in
remember.
the room. Okay, so I'm not crazy on that front. Where I would lose my shit,
Uh-huh.
I'm going into the mode of like wife and mother mode here. He just pulls out that tape recorder and is like, let's just see what I can find here. Right next to her. He didn't think for a second, you know what? I should probably listen to this alone and see what's on there and mentally prepare her that she may hear her dead daughter's voice on my fucking tape recorder. Because you know, at this point, she's thinking that he's just crazy and that he lost it and just burned that room down. I would fucking smack the shit out of him. But it would be a fucking KO. Like, I absolutely not. And that's just how it ends. She just drops the box. I was infuriated, like infuriated that he would have the nerve. That's why he's a selfish man. He fucking sucks. How do you like that?
I love it. I encourage it. I love it. No, because like he has this like smug fucking look on his face
Like,
when
see.
he's like, see, and like you can tell he's almost starts to smile a little bit,
Mhm.
and you're just like, okay, bro. First of all, fuck off, dude. Like you got this. Like don't act like you invented this shit. Don't act like you discovered this and blah blah blah. And then even then, I don't know. But yeah, I
Okay.
did think that was pretty funny.
Okay. As I'm talking through it, though, one thing that I am remembering
Uh huh.
is he also, so after she passes, they have that, he has that flashback of the argument between him and his wife. And
Mhm.
he is like, how dare you tell her all of those stories about like God and heaven and the afterlife and all of those things. So maybe that was his way of saying, like, you know what, you were right. But I'm like, I'd be like, wait, so is my daughter just doomed to haunt this room for the rest of her afterlife? Like,
Right?
what is that supposed to be communicating? Like, I think that's what they were trying to get at, but the message does not come across. It just seems like a like where he's like, see, it was a haunted room.
Oh my god. See, and that's why, yeah, I don't know. That's why I'd prefer it if it was just an evil room and that wasn't actually the daughter. It was just the room using his daughter to fuck with him. Because you're just like, oh my god, my poor. She just gets dragged from the afterlife to participate in whatever
Yes.
haunting bullshit. I know that's pretty funny. The alternate ending is that he just dies in the room, and then
And he burns, right? So
he
he ends up burning down the room.
and then Samuel L. Jackson like goes to his funeral, and
Mm,
then he's now seeing outside of this room somehow. Outside of the room, he's seeing the charred ghost of or charred body of Samuel or John Cusack, and then it like cuts to
wild.
John Cusack like lighting a cigarette and just walking around through the destroyed room, and but he's like a ghost, and it's that
Hmm.
situation. Which I mean, I think probably ultimately, I think it was a better ending. I think,
Well, that I
especially
agree. And that
yeah,
one, so apparently that didn't get chosen because test audiences thought it was too gloomy. Also, how do we become a test audience? How sign me up.
yeah,
Sign me up.
be like, yeah, be
I
like,
love
this
it.
isn't spooky enough. There are not enough dead children in this. Just keep it going.
I want there to be a
Yeah,
loop of him losing his daughter in his arms
yeah.
continuously.
One thing that I hadn't noticed, or sorry, that I hadn't brought up, as we're wrapping up, is that we have our famous Yet patent pending. So please, be courteous. 5 boo scale that we use to award our movies at the end of these episodes. This is the first movie that we're rating that has its own spooky rating
Mm,
of its own, right?
yes.
So let me get back and so I did want to bring that up. He's got his shiver scale, which is on a
Shiver
scale of
scale.
1 to 10 skulls on the shiver scale, which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We're just booze on the boo scale, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Before I get into our ratings, any stray thoughts that you have about 1408 before we talk about our boo rating? And
Yes.
if I could ask you to award a shiver scale rating for this movie as well. I'm
Mm,
asking you for 2 different ratings.
I
But
can do that.
please, anything else you want to touch base on before we get into that?
Yes. Much like Halloween H2O, which these movies were 9 years apart.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna start just looking into this every time because I didn't realize that there's so many different types of taglines for movies.
Oh my god, do you have taglines for this?
Yes, I do.
Oh my god, here we go.
It
I love it.
has it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 taglines. H2O only had seven. Only seven.
Oh my god, if you add 8 for 1408, 7 for H2O, that's 15. But we're talking about 2 movies, so -2. Holy god, Natalie, that's 13. Oh my god,
Oh,
give me these taglines.
I
I want to
can't
hear them.
stand you.
I love it. I want to hear them.
Do you want me to start with the one that I think is the best or the worst? What order do you want me to go in?
Oh, Jesus, I don't know. Surprise me. And I'll see if I agree if it's the good or bad.
Okay. I'm gonna read them. I'm gonna read them in a nondescript order and you can decide.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna read this one first, just off to the side.
Okay.
Based on the terrifying story by Stephen King. I don't think that one should count.
Okay.
It's not witty. The Dolphin Hotel invites you to stay in any of its stunning rooms, except one. It's a
Sure.
long
Okay.
ass tagline.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
No
true. True to
one
the story, though.
lasts. No one lasts more than an hour.
Yeah, they really stuck with that.
Mm-hmm. Didn't
But
seem
he,
necessary.
yeah, sure. Okay.
Enjoy your stay,
Yeah.
which I think that one might be my favorite because it's simple, short.
Simple to the point, and that's what,
Mm-hmm.
they usually say that in hotels, right?
Yeah. Don't stay in 1408.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Some rooms are locked for a reason. Shouldn't
Just
all rooms be locked for a reason? Like, if it's locked, there's a reason.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, yeah,
Okay.
no, that's a good one. That's my favorite so far.
Oh, that one's your favorite. Okay.
Yeah, it's the dumbest, but it's my favorite.
Oh, you think that's the dumbest? The classic thriller we've all been waiting for.
Have we?
What? Yeah,
And
what?
is it? uh the classic thriller we've all been waiting for.
And then
You know,
this, this one I think makes you question what's even happening in this movie
uh-huh.
because this one is the only demons in room 1408 are those within you. Are there demons in this movie? Did anyone think that there were demons in this movie?
Is it like are we talking about like straight like demon?
They're talking
Like,
about inner demons,
yeah.
obviously, but like, you're going into it thinking it's haunted because he's looking up haunted places.
Yeah, and I don't like
What's
fixing
which
up
one's
ghosts and demons.
no, they're two completely different things.
Like a haunting is we'd get into this. It would take a long time to like I don't know
I
if demons haunt necessarily. Demons possess.
I think I like enjoy your stay as the like serious, like I'd be like, I could market this way,
Yeah.
but some rooms are locked for a reason.
Yeah.
Probably the winner on the stupidity like
It's pretty
front.
good.
And again, I pose the question, who makes these taglines and have they seen these movies? Or even have read the script? Are they just going off of like the premise? of the movie to create these taglines?
I love
And
it.
could we create better taglines? So I'm going to challenge you, Kyle. The next movie that we chat about, I want you to create 3 taglines.
The next movie we do, I got to create
Mm-hmm.
3 taglines. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
sounds good. I love it.
And
Um,
I'll tell you the real ones, and we'll see if yours are better, or we can just read them to the audience, not knowing if they're real or they're yours.
both would be pretty fun. Um, Thank you for sharing that. And I did
You're welcome.
check as far as any awards this movie won, Blockbuster Entertainment or
I was
MTV
just say
Video or
Blockbuster.
otherwise, and none, unfortunately. So
Hmm.
maybe some niche, like, spooky awards. I don't know.
Hmm.
So let's talk some booze. Okay. Now, this movie, of course, we drew up our lists of initial movies we wanted to talk about, and this is one that I put down. And I couldn't tell you why. I was just thinking of just 10 random horror movies that I liked that I wanted to revisit. Some that I haven't seen in a while, some that I've seen a million times, just a good mix. And this one, I don't know why. Just like Dan Aykroyd and Ghostbusters, it just popped in there. I didn't think about it. And I did remember seeing this movie in theaters. This is when I worked. Maybe we saw it together. I don't know. This is in the years where I was working as a
Possible.
manager at a movie theater, so I was seeing a lot of movies at that time for free.
We saw
Um,
all the movies.
but this, I'll go ahead and kind of offer my thoughts up first, if that's okay. Um,
Absolutely. It was on your list. I'm dying to know your
Now,
rating.
what I liked about this movie, in movies like this, I was just thinking about, like, late 90s, 2000s PG-13 horror.
Mm-hmm.
13. Oh my God, here we are, right? PG.
Spooky.
So I'm gonna rate this PG 1408. Um, any PG-13 horror movie, I'm just gonna call PG
Going
1408.
forward.
Yeah, but I was just thinking about, I do appreciate a good PG-13 horror movie. Because you can't rely on the blood and the gore and all of that,
Mm-hmm.
or even the fucks, so you can't get like very like realistic reactions to things if people can't yell expletives.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, I just made like a quick list, and really it's just a simple Google of like 2000s PG-13 movies, and you see things like, you know more famous, good stuff like The Ring,
Mm-hmm.
lesser extent The Grudge, Drag Me to
Mm-hmm.
Hell, Insidious, Cloverfield, The Others,
Mm-hmm.
with Nicole Kidman. um uh Maybe not
There's
that
a lot of
remake
good
of The
ones.
Fog, White Noise, Exorcism of
Mm-hmm.
Emily Rose, Skeleton Key. Gosh, they just keep going. Now there's some bad ones, right? Like you got your uh, at least the first Alien vs Predator was PG-13, and that was a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
That was really bad. Um,
The second one is fun.
is it? I never saw
I
it because
think
the
it's
first one
fun.
was so
It
bad.
is, I will say, if you are not a fan of body horror,
Uh huh.
don't watch it. Because it has
Well,
some pretty gnarly things in it. And I let Phil watch it thinking it was like the first one. It was not. And at the end, we were both like, that was so much better.
because I think they
So,
had to really, like, probably because they had to just make up for how boring everyone thought the first one
yeah,
was.
it, it's
Um,
it's wild. It's not a good movie, but it is fun.
Speaking of not good movies, I was thinking of just, yeah, PG-13 horror
What
movies.
else?
The only one that came to mind on my really bad list was, did you ever see Stay Alive?
I think so, but I can't tell you that I remember it, which probably isn't a great sign.
Yeah, it's got the dude it's got Malcolm in the Middle, Frankie Muniz in it, and then it's
Mm.
got a few other people in it, but it's really bad. It's based off, like, it's like a PS2 game that if you play in real, you die in the game, you
Oh
die in real
yeah.
life kind of situation.
Yeah.
Your classic conceit.
Mm-hmm.
So, geez, that very well. I feel like that should have made it onto my list, just to
Mm-mm.
be for my troll pick.
Oh gosh.
for my trolling pick. But yeah, not that one. But I did think, but when I was looking at, there was a couple lists of like, the best PG-13 or best PG-14 08 horror movies in the 2000s. This movie does generally show up at the top of those lists. And I
Mm-hmm.
tend to agree. I mean, I think it's a pretty good situation. I do like, I like John Cusack just fine. I
Mm-hmm.
like Samuel L. Jackson great. I think, I couldn't tell you a whole lot of stuff Mary McCormick's in, but I'm sure
Yeah.
she's
I
fine.
I don't disagree with you at all, but I will say, out of all the movies that you listed,
Mhm.
this one is probably the one that I would hear the least about, or like I feel like if you listed those movies to people, they would say, "Yes, I've seen the others. Yes, I've seen The Ring. Yes, I've seen The Grudge." But 1408,
Insidious,
I'm
yeah.
not so sure.
That's true.
I feel like it kind of maybe it just kind of like got lost in the shuffle.
Hmm. I given that, the movie's fine. And when I gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a boo rating, and I'm also gonna give it a shiver scale rating. So I'm gonna
Start
go
with the shiver
ahead.
scale.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you were gonna do it the other way
I
around?
was gonna do it the other way around, but it doesn't really
You could
know.
just convert it, really. I mean, it's a 5 to 10 like situation. I was just gonna convert it.
Oh, I wasn't gonna
Is
do
that the
that.
lazy way of doing it?
I was just gonna be dumb and say I'm gonna give it a debating between 2.5 and 3 on the boo scale,
Okay.
because I think it's pretty good. So maybe I'll give
Okay.
it a 3. I'll just give it a 3. I like it.
Okay.
And I'm going to give it a 10. 10 skulls on the shiver scale. Just because I can.
Going for
And
it.
it's going to be the first and only time that I'm going to award skulls on a shiver scale. So let's just give it a full 10.
Just go for it.
Just go for it. So
Okay.
three boos, 10 skulls.
I mean, I guess if any movie is going to get 10 skulls on the shiver scale, it should be the one that invented it.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
What are your thoughts?
I I'm gonna give it a 2.5 for booze.
Hmm.
This movie to me is fine. Like I think it's fine. I think it's interesting to watch. When rewatching it, I forgot a lot of things and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's what happens." Like it gets you thinking a lot, which I really like, but I did think it was a little bit, you know, like I went to rewatch it today after having watched it last week, and I was like, I think I'm going to read the synopsis instead. So I feel like it's a perfect movie to watch every 15 to 20 years. Like it doesn't need to be revisited often. And I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. I would recommend it to people who are interested in horror but are too scared to watch gore or don't like to watch um you know anything too graphic, because I would say it's good for that.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna give it a 2.5 because I think it's a well-made movie. I think John Cusack is amazing. I think Samuel L. Jackson is great. Like everyone in the movie is great. I think it's very well done. It's fine. I think there's a lot of movies that have to do with hauntings and ghosts that will go higher on that on my boos. So I'm gonna give it a 2.5
And
this time.
also, 2.5 is still really good.
Down.
I would say
Breaking down this time.
anything under 2 boos is bad,
Hmm.
right? Like 2 boos is still, I still consider 2 boos a good movie. Like it's
I
fine.
would I would too. So maybe something that's two boos is like it was fun to watch, but I wouldn't watch it again and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Because we have a lot of movies that we've watched that I think were really fun while we were watching them together for the first time. But I wouldn't say like, oh, you like scary movies. You should watch this. That's how two
Yeah,
boos feels for me.
that's fair. And also, just like with the shiver scale, it's all pretty arbitrary.
Hmm. Yeah,
I'm
the
curious.
shiver scale. If I was converting it exactly, it would be a 5 because it would be landing right in the middle. But just, just to not go to a perfect 10, I guess a 9.5 on the 9.5 skulls, the shiver
Okay, so
scale.
we have 2.5 boo and a 9.5 on the shiver scale compared to my 3 boos. solid 10 skulls on the shiver scale.
Now, I don't have the facts here today, but I think there's only one movie that I've given more booze than you have.
Is it Death Becomes Her?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. Um, well, that's interesting. See, we'll figure it out
I'm
once we get
starting a log. I've started a log, so I have to go
she's
back to the end of the other ones.
she just held up her phone to me with her notes app that has like
It's
3 lines
very
on it.
official.
Yeah.
It's 2 movies on there so far
Yeah.
out
So
of
there you
the
go.
like 8.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Um, I didn't have anything to. I did not worry at all that we would have any trouble coming up with things to talk about with this movie.
No.
I had a really good time talking about it, to be honest.
I know. I'm really glad that you picked it actually. I don't think I would have rewatched it on my own. So I'm glad that you picked it. I did wonder why you picked it
Me
when
too.
I
Not
saw
even
your
sure
list.
myself.
Yeah, I was like, this couldn't be one of his favorite movies. So maybe I should have been more creative in my list with trying to find things that I'm like, I don't even really remember this movie, but I know it was at least interesting. But
Fun one to talk about.
yeah,
Hmm.
it was very fun. Very
Yeah.
fun.
Anything else you want to talk about 1408 before we close the door and lock it from the inside?
It will be locked for a reason.
Don't you lock any door from the inside, especially like a hotel room? Like, what do you mean? Like, they make it such a big deal? Lock it from the inside. Like, why
No,
wouldn't you?
it says all doors are locked for a reason. Or
No,
no, I'm sorry, some doors are locked for a reason.
no, I'm
But
not talking about that. I'm talking about
oh,
like in
the
the
expression?
movie, like when they say specifically, they're like, lock it from the inside. Or is that the beginning at the Airbnb? Or not at the Airbnb, sorry. That was before that existed. Just
I
at the
don't know.
regular bed and breakfast, where they were like, make sure you have to lock the door from the inside. And I'm like, well, okay. Like, I mean, why? How do you lock it
Maybe
from
they were
that
trying
outside?
I think they were trying to freak him out. Like you might get locked in if you don't lock it
Hmm.
yourself. Like the ghosts are gonna do it for you.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, the only real
Mhm.
other stray thought on 1408 I had was that you had not one, but 2 different scenes of someone doing the kind of rolling, like all the old newspaper clippings and through that machine where it
Mm,
like goes from like one to the
what are
other and
those
trying to figure out a
called?
story. I don't know. We don't read. We don't go to libraries.
Fuck that the
How would we
library.
know? I know. Support your local libraries, by
Yes,
the
please do.
way.
I have a library membership.
Hell yeah. Best place to research any supernatural ongoings in your area is the old newspaper clippings at your local library. So, yeah, gosh. All right. Here we are, 1408. Well, I'm glad we watched it. I had a good
Me
time.
too.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah, that's a
everybody.
good one.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, as always. 3, 2, 1, Ghost.
Thank you for listening to our episode on 1408. While all listeners of our podcast do get to enjoy free will, we hope that you'll check in by following us on Instagram at 321GhostPod. Please leave us a review to let us know if you've enjoyed your stay. No need to pick up your room phone to get in touch with us. Just simply send us an email to 321ghostpod@gmail.com or send us a direct message on Instagram. As a reminder, you can take advantage of our express checkout system at any time. 3, 2, 1, Ghost.